Chapter 2.1 Day 1 Transformation of Quadratic Function. Quadratic function is a function that can be written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So any function that is written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is called quadratic function. Parabolas are the graph that are U-shaped graph of the quadratic function. The vertex form of a parabola fx equals a times x minus h squared plus k, where a is not equal 0, is called vertex form of an equation. The letter A in the front indicates the reflection. So if the sign is negative, so it's going to be a reflection over the x-axis. Also, the A number, for example, if it is 3, is also called vertical stretch, and if it is 1/3 or number that is less than 1, then it's going to be a vertical shrink. So A is used for reflection and vertical shrink and stretches. Number H, so the H inside is always used for left and right or horizontal translations. K outside is used for vertical translations or up and down. The vertex of the parabola. So vertex is either the lowest point on the parabola that opens up. The highest point on the parabola that opens down is going to be your vertex. So vertex is the lowest point or the highest point. So for example, if this is the parabola you have that opens up, the lowest point on this parabola is called your vertex. So highest point means if the parabola looks like the one I'm drawing right now is this one, and then the highest point is called your vertex for this type of a parabola. Let's do the next part, that is to identify vertex and axis of symmetry from the vertex form. The vertex form is fx equals a x minus h squared plus k. H are called x values of the vertex. It is also known as axis of symmetry. K is y value of the vertex. When you write the vertex, it's going to look like h comma k. Remember, this is a negative sign, so we do not keep the negative sign, and if it's a negative sign, we just write h. And by chance, if it's a positive sign, then we're going to write negative h. So now for the first problem right here, the number that is in the front is used for reflection or vertical stretch or shrink. And when we are going to find the vertex, that is h and k, then you're going to work and find out what is the inside number and compare it with the original equation. So h is 1, so 1 is our h, and then k is 4, so 1 comma 4. Axis of symmetry is a line, so axis of symmetry is not a number, it's a line. So we're going to write it as x equals 1 because it's a vertical line. Now the next question is 1/4 x minus h squared plus 3. So this is again 1/4 is a vertical shrink. So we ignore that because we're only answering h and k. So h is 4 and k is 3, 4 comma 3. Axis of symmetry is the x value, x equals 4. For number 3, we are going to find h and k. So if it is a negative, then we write h as positive. And if it is positive, then we are going to write it down 5 as negative. So the vertex for number 3 is going to be -5, comma 2. And then axis of symmetry is always is the x coordinate of the vertex, so it's going to be x equals -5. For number 4, The number in the front is always used for vertical stretch or shrink. In this case is a vertical stretch by factor of 2, but we are answering h comma k, so it's going to be h comma k, so 5 comma negative 3, and axis of symmetry is going to be x equals 5. For number 5, you're going to get the h value and it's going to be negative 2, and k is negative 1, so negative 2 comma negative 1, and axis of symmetry is going to be negative 2, so x equals negative 2. Now let's do different types of transformations. First one is reflection over the x-axis. So for the reflection of the graph, there are two types of function given to you. If you notice, this one has a negative sign and this one is a positive sign. So when you graph any square function, you're going to first make a table. So we are going to make a table to see where the points are going to be. So here is the table for y equals x squared. So you're going to choose any x values. So I just use the basic x values negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. And we are going to plug it in for x to find out what is the y value. So negative 2 square is 4. So my first point is going to be negative 2 comma 4. And I'm going to graph the negative 2 comma 4. So this is negative 2 comma 4, this point right here. Now the next point is negative 1 comma 1. So negative 1 comma 1, and the next point is 0 comma 0, and then 1 comma 1, and then 2 comma 4. And then when you combine these or connect these points, you're going to get a U-shaped graph, and that's going to be your graph for the square function. Now we need to develop the pattern for this function. So the pattern is for the parent function always start from 0, 0, and then it's going to rise up 1 over 1 and then up 3 over 1. So up 1, up 3, up 5. So the pattern is going to be 1 comma 3 comma 5. So starting from 0, 0, and then you're going to rise up 1 and then up 3 over 1. So this is a parent graph, everyone. So since this is a positive number in front of the function, so this is going to be a graph that opens up. And if you have a negative in front of the function x squared, then you're going to get the same type of a graph, which is going to be rise 1 over 1 and then rise 3 over 1. So the pattern is going to be the same, but it's going to be opening down. So the graph is going to look like something like this, where you're going to start from 0, 0, and then you're going to go down 1 over 1 and down 3 over 1. So the pattern is going to be still the same, 1 comma 3 comma 5. Remember, the original graph we got it from the table, so then we just saw the pattern in it, and we are going to use this pattern to graph in future. All the graphs are going to be rising by 1, by 3, and by 5, unless we have something in the front that is a different number than 1. So let's say 2 or 3 or 4. Then we can talk about that later. So right now you need to understand when it's a parent function, it starts from 0, 0, and it's going to go up 1, up 3, up 5, and so on. Now the next function is reflection over the y-axis. So for the y-axis is given as a x equals a times y squared. It's not a function, but I'm going to graph this graph here, just a rough graph, so that you can see how it looks like, and it's going to be a side graph. So this type of a graph is a reflection over the y-axis from the original graph, that is y equals x squared. And this graph is going to be the reflection of the graph that is negative x equals negative y squared. Now we are going to graph function, that is y equals 3 times x squared. So the number that we use as a is 3, which is greater than 1. So it's going to be a vertical stretch. Now we already know the pattern of this graph, so it's going to start from 0, 0, and it rise by the numbers 3, 1, comma 3, comma 5. So it's going to be the next point is going to be this, which is 1, and then the next point is going to be up 3, which is this one. Now since this is a different function because it's multiplied by 3, now we are going to use and same pattern, but we are going to multiply it by 3. So our points is going to rise by these numbers. So it's going to be 3, 9, and 15. So starting from 0, 0, our next point going to be 3, and the next point is going to be 9, let's say. So that's how you're going to use the pattern, and it's going to be your vertical stretch graph. So for the vertical shrink, you're going to start from 0, 0 because it's not a translated graph. So starting from 0, 0, you can either find out the other points by plugging in the value for x here and solve it for y. So what I use is I plug it only one value, that is 2. So when I use the 2 here, I got 2 squared, and that is going to be 4. So 1 over 2, 4 divided by 1 over 2 is going to give you 2. So the point is going to be 2 comma 2. And since the graph of a quadratic function is a symmetrical figure or symmetrical graph, then whatever the point is here, you're going to use on the left side the same point. We're going to get a graph for a vertical shrink that is shrunk by 1 over 2, by factor of 1 over 2. So notice here one thing, that you choose the number 2 and then you're going to get the y value as number 2. And you have to notice that anytime you have a fraction number in the front, then you're going to choose the same value for x and you will get the same value for y. So let's say if you get a number x for number 3, so let's, if this is going to be your equation 1 over 3 x squared. So if you choose x as 3, then you're going to get 1 over 3, 3 square, and you're going to get 9 divided by 3, that is going to be 3. So the point is going to be y is 3 comma 3. So whatever you choose x value, the y is going to be the same. So if it is 2 for x, then you're going to get the y as 2. So choose the value that is also divisible by the number that is on the bottom. So for example, if you have a 2 here, then you need to choose 2 for x. If you have 3 here, then you need to choose x as 3. If you have 5 here, you need to choose x as 5. So anytime you choose the same number x, you're going to get the same number as y. So 2 comma 2, if you choose in this case 3, then it's going to be 3 comma 3.